Hey guys, it is Chad here from the Battle Warrior Podcast, and I'm just letting all you listeners know that the Battle Warrior Podcast episodes will be available across all podcast platforms, guys. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this brand new episode today.
You ready to go?
Yeah.
All right.
Born ready.
We're always ready, man. Flip the switch. All right, guys. Welcome to Battle Warrior Podcast. I have a phenomenal guest coming in from a very warm state. And I'm going to say it that way. He's already putting up the punch gloves here, guys. But this is going to be a special episode. Traditionally, we go through people that go through physical, mental, and spiritual journey. But this one's special because a lot of us, when we're going through these three stages, develop these three core areas because we're kind of combating the government. Now I'm gonna say it that way. We're free-spirited people and we want to kind of live life with our own little way. But reading your profile and seeing exactly what you did, I'm like, you know what? This is perfect because it kind of gives behind the scenes what you can legally say. We'll say it that way. Of the lifestyle in that window. So guys, the guest today is Robert Kerbeck. He is, jump on me if I mispronounce it wrong, but he is the author of RUSE, Lion, the American Dream from Hollywood to Wall Street, the story on wannabe actor and the greatest corporate spies. So that three-letter word at the end here is going to be very, very interesting. So welcome to the podcast, man.
Hey, Chad, thanks for having me. I'm very excited. And I think it is really appropriate because, you want to talk about a journey, the journey that I went through because, here I was just a kid from Philadelphia and, grew up. My family is very well known in the car business. So Battle Warrior Podcast listeners, if you're looking for a deal on a Maserati, tell them that I sent you. When I graduated college, I'd kind of fallen in love with acting in college, mainly because I wanted to meet young women. And of course, that was pretty good way to meet young women. Go to the theater. I'm telling you, you're gonna do all right. But when I graduated college, my dad wanted me to come work in this family automobile business. My great grandfather had sold horse carriages before cars were invented. Then he started this dealership. My grandfather took it over. My father took it over. I was supposed to take it over. And I went to work in the car business and it just didn't feel right to me, the kind of dishonesty, trickery of car sales. And so I moved to New York to try to be an actor, need a survival job. All actors need a survival job. Who stumbles into a job as a corporate spy? But that's what I did, which of course is pretty ironic because the world of corporate spying is far more dishonest than car sales. And so, part of this journey of writing this book has been reckoning with my past, reckoning with those, with basically being a professional liar. But also interesting, because a lot of the lying I was doing was for major corporations. So it's kind of like, well, wait a second, who's the victim here? Like, do we really feel, do we feel too bad for JP Morgan or, do we feel bad for Wall Street banks so, it's kind of an interesting dilemma there, and in the book, I deal a lot with, spying, because we all know the Russians spy on the Chinese and the Chinese spy on us. But most of your listeners have no idea corporations are spending hundreds of millions of dollars every year to hire spies.
And to go pretty much exactly what you're talking about into different companies.
Yes. Yep. And to find out anything and everything they can, secrets, plans, who the top people are, what they pay people, what they charge their product, who their clients are, what deals they're working on. And by the way, it's every company that's doing it, small, medium, and large, right? They're all hiring spies. Of course, they usually hire spies through an intermediary because they don't want to be hiring Robert directly. Because if all of a sudden I got caught, then the CEO of whatever big company is like, oh my God, So they hire usually through some intermediary, so they have plausible deniability. but they're all doing it. They're all basically authorizing, this type of, that's why the book is called RUSE. A ruse is a trick, it's a scam, it's a deception. And what we would do is we would deceive people at major companies into telling us things that they should never in a million years tell us.
And the thing that you're looking at, and I'm going to look at this as a hunter analogy because I'm a hunter. Typically, the very strong, committed employee, and tell me if I'm incorrect on this. Like, you can pounce on whatever you want to pounce on.
Yeah.
The ones that are very prideful and enjoy their work, love coming to work every day, will probably be very lenient on secrets versus the ones that want to flip the boss off and do their own thing.
That's a great, I'm not quite sure what the answer to that is, but I love the hunting analogy because we definitely were hunting for intel. We were hunting for the intel that our clients were paying us a lot of money to get. At the end of this job, I was making, sit down people, $2 million a year. Okay. That's a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
And we were hunting for information that in some cases was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Think about it. If, one of the legendary CEO of Apple, Steve Jobs, he was adamant about corporate security. He was so intense about corporate security that he told his employees, if you talk about anything you do at work with anyone in your family, forget about being fired. We're going to prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. We're going to sue you, right? So that really put the fear into people, but most companies, it's not like that. And so most companies, I can penetrate a firm. I always tell people, give me 45 minutes. I can find out anything you want to know about a rival corporation.
Yeah. And the thing where my mind's going at, and I came through sales in many industries, but the cellular industry. So like the AT&Ts, the Verizons, we can add a few onto that. I never noticed how I don't want to say like Verizon and stuff was always like within a week of plan change, but it was always like when one did one, the next day, the next one did one, the next
right.
And I'm like, wait a minute here. Someone's got to know all this stuff's going on.
That's right. Because look, these industries are competitive industries, right? The CEOs make tons of money. $2 million is chump change to these people, right? They're making 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, 100 million, a billion. So there's such pressure on these people to, they can't fail. If they're number 2 in an industry or number 3 in an industry, they can't drop to number 5 or number 6. It's devastating. So there is tremendous pressure to hire spies, to constantly be finding out about their competitors. And that's what we were doing. Now, I wrote this book during COVID. So I really, COVID, of course, was a terrible time. And so I really wrote it. I wanted it to be fun. So the book is actually a lot of fun. And a lot of the reviews of the book, like New York Post gave a great review, and they describe it as that it reads like a spy novel, like a page turner. But it's all true. Right? It's all true. I tell people I've written an honest book about lying for a living.
And I don't want to say give me a preview of that stuff, but if you're looking at like one of your favorite chapters, and you could be like, yeah. And I'm an author of my own too. So of many chapters that you have in it, which one's your favorite?
There are a lot of great ones because, so remember, I'm an actor who's doing this in the beginning as just a survival job. At first, we were getting $8 an hour. And I was working as an actor. I'm working with George Clooney. I'm working with Al Pacino, Paul Newman, having interactions with O.J. Simpson and Kevin Spacey and Yoko Ono. I mean, so the book is really 2 books. It's like a celebrity tell-all because I worked with O.J. Simpson the week before the murders. I worked with Kevin Spacey right before he was arrested for molesting people. I peed next to Al Pacino. I drank beers with Paul Newman. So you get all these behind the scenes with all these famous people. But then the book alternates with these chapters with corporate espionage and corporate spying. So it's kind of hard for me to pick a favorite chapter. But I think the book is a lot of fun, and now it's in development for a TV series, so I guess somebody liked it.
Yeah, and I was going to say how you explain it. I'm like, wait a minute here. So if you're and I'm gonna give another analogy here because I tend to be filled up with a few of them at times, but so technically you're doing it as an off income for acting.
Yeah, in the beginning.
If you looked at this, it'd be like me taking Toastmasters for speaking. So I'm a speaker, I'm taking Toastmasters because both of the skills that you're learning technically is helping each other.
Correct. Yeah, no doubt. There's no way. And the woman who had this firm, this spying firm, when we first started doing it, she only hired actors because we could do accents, we could do voices. This is Gerhard calling from the office in Frankfurt, Germany. If you need some information, right? So we could do these accents that, remember, firms now have offices all over the world. They have an office in Tokyo, in Dublin, in Germany, and so you could be from anywhere. And so we would figure out, who was a real person. Sometimes I'd listen to their voicemails, or if I didn't see them on TV, some of the executives. And so being an actor, I could imitate their voice. I could imitate their accent. And so now people are answering the phone. They're going, oh, hey, Gerhard. Yeah, buddy, what's going on? What are you calling me for? What do you need? How can I help you? Oh, I need you to pull out the deal memo on the, really? You need to look at oh, okay, Gerhard, sure, buddy. Yeah, well, because people are taught in corporate America to be a good teammate, right? To have good corporate culture. And so if there's somebody at another office, that needs something, you help them out. And so we would use that to our advantage to get people to release this information. We would use our acting skills to our advantage.
And we're trained to be a good little boy. We'll just say that. Good little boy, good little girl, whatever it is in the corporate world.
That's right. That's right.
And that's actually psychology I'm actually fighting with right now, because I'm in both worlds. I'm in my own business world plus that world. And
right.
You can contest this probably. The psychology of both sides of it are like a whole completely 180 degrees.
Yeah, no doubt. And you said something in the beginning, but it was like I didn't want to, I was already trying to be an actor. I was already going against there was a family business that was set up. I could have been successful. I could have been wealthy doing that, but I wanted to go my own way. I wanted my own path. And then when I stumbled into this job, at first I was like, well, I know it's not ethical and I know it's borderline illegal, but I'm like, you know what? Boo-hoo for Goldman Sachs, like boo-hoo for corporate America. Like, you know what? And one of the reviews said, shank the man and rake in the bucks. And that's what I did. I'm like, you know what? And I'm not saying that I'm proud of what I did, because in the book, I reckon in RUSE, I reckon a lot with the moral issues. And over time, they began to bother me more and more. When you're young, you're just kind of doing what you're doing. And then all of a sudden, as you get a little bit older, you go, wait a second now, so I reckon with that, but there was a lot of me that, a lot of times the information we were getting, the top people would get poached right away from that company and brought over to my client. So I was like, well, a lot of times these people are getting better jobs as a result of my rusing. So again, that was part of how I rationalized it. But I'm glad I'm out of the spying business now, and that's why I could write a book about it, because the statute of limitations for whatever potential crimes has now expired, right?
In fancy terms, and if you weren't fucking out of it, you'd be 6 feet under.
That's right. Exactly. That's exactly right. I wouldn't be a very good spy if I wrote a book and outed myself as a spy and continued to spy, right? But one of the shocking things about writing this book is I cannot tell you. So I published this book. It's with Penguin Random House. It's a big publisher. I can't tell you how many emails I got from corporations who read my book and wanted to hire me to spy. I was like, guys, I just outed myself. They're like, we don't care. You're the best. We want you. I'm like, guys, I would be stupid, because I've really put a target on my back that if I do, if anybody does get wind of what I'm doing, they're going to be like, hey, that's the guy that wrote the book. When you're a spy, you got to keep a pretty low profile.
But I will give you a little question on this. Is kind of off the topic, because I had a few guys that were family friends of mine that dealt with a lot of like inner city Chicago old school stuff with the families, and their nickname was always Pay the Vig.
Yeah.
And from an everyday employee or in general business owner or whatever at the normal like blue collar, white collar level. I don't think people really realize that game at that level.
Right.
But when you're in these top tier corporations, or at least getting to the top, it's a whole different ballgame.
Oh my God. And one of the things, one of my favorite parts of the book is, so I'm doing all this spying, I'm making all this money, then the crash of 2008 comes and the world falls apart and I lose all this money and I have to go and work in corporate America. I have to take a real job in corporate America, my first real job in corporate America. And so I go in and I'm meeting all these people and I'm like, okay, we're all on the same team and this is going to be great. We're pulling for each other because if we all do well, we're all going to do better. And everybody was stabbing me in the back, lying to my face. It was all deception and manipulation and dishonesty. And what's funny is here I am before as a spy being kind of the master deceiver, but yet when I go into a real world situation, I'm so naive that I'm the one that is getting taken advantage of. And so, if any of your listeners buy RUSE and they're getting bummed out at some of the things I'm doing, hang in there, reader, because pretty soon I'm going to get my payback. I get my comeuppance because you see in a weird sort of way that the lying done in these cutthroat corporations, the dishonesty is just endemic. And you think people you're working with are your friend. No, they're not. Your boss is your pal. No, they're not. It's all about the bottom line. And, they'll cut you loose in a second, or they'll leave your company to go take to another company, or they'll cut your salary, or they'll cut a bonus that they told you had earned, or whatever. It happens all the time in corporate America.
Absolutely, guys. And that's the number one rule that we teach everyone, at least in the entrepreneurship world. At least you have your own leverage versus being a number for someone else.
That's right. That's right. You always have to think like that, and it's hard because, you're working with people, you spend a lot of time with people, you develop close relationships so that you think someone is your buddy, someone is your mentor, someone is your pal. No, I mean, I'm not going to say that's never the case because, it is the case sometimes, but many, many, many times it's not. People are just out for themselves, so you just have to be aware of that. And like you said, always have your leverage, about what you are doing well, what you're doing better than anyone else, and why they need to lay off somebody else and not you, and why they need to promote you and not somebody else. Right.
And I was going to say, and that goes into your book here, especially how it is. So where can we take all my listeners to go find your fabulous book and all the it's going to be an interesting read, guys. It's not a normal read, but it's going to be a fun, interesting read. Where can they go find it?
Oh, I appreciate that. It is. It's a page turner. It's an easy read. I always tell people go to my website, which is just my name, Robert Kerbeck, KERBECK.com. RobertKerbeck.com. There's a trailer on there for the TV series that's in development, so you can watch the trailer and see, and then you can order the book from wherever you like, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, local bookstore, wherever.
So I was going to say thank you for coming on the show, man. You're always welcome back. And like I said, guys, this is an interesting podcast because it's a fun little curveball we can add into the mix here.
Yeah, and here's the cover, so you recognize it. And I always tell people, if you pick up the book and you like it, even if you don't like it and you want to email me, you can email me right from my website and just say, hey, I liked it. Hey, I didn't like it. Hey, I'm interested in having a career in corporate spying. Can you recommend me? I'll be happy to do it.
Absolutely, man.
Plenty of work out there for spies.
There you go, guys. Get out of the $50,000 a year circle.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, man. And like I said, I will keep you updated and you're always welcome back.
Okay. Thank you, Chad.